we're gonna do right here is go back, way back.
It's the Goin Way Back Show with Money B. Classic hip-hop, raw and uncut.
It's the Goin Way Back Show with Money B, your home for classic hip-hop, raw and uncut. And I am joined as always by my lovely co-host, Ty Teasy in the building. And I do appreciate the outpour of love, concern, and all the kind words, to me and to the entire Digital Underground family. I just thought that before I go back to live shows, I kind of wanted to reflect and, just get it out, because I know the questions are out there about our brother, Shock G, and the genius of Shock G. But more specific, for this show, I kind of want to dive into one of the things, or one of his geniuses or genius moves, and that is the creation of the character Humpty Hump. So I am joined by three of my brothers. We have my real brother, Master Will, aka Cullen Robinson, in the building. I am joined by my other brother, who is actually Shock's real brother, DU member Kent Rocker, in the building. What up, Kent?
What up, man? Good to see you. Good to see y'all, hearing y'all at the show.
And I am joined also by my crazy brother, my current touring brother, the Mac himself, Chris Clarke, aka Young Hump, in the house. What up, Joe?
Love y'all.
Word. So, I kind of want to start the conversation off, because this whole forum is all about just Humpty Hump. There are many things we can go on for hours about the beautiful man that Shock was, the great musician that he was, but I just want to compartmentalize and just, keep it light coming back. And, Humpty Hump was one of those creations that, for the outside world, it kind of threw everybody for a loop. For all of us on the inside, I think it was still very interesting. So I just kind of want to talk about, the different pieces and what made and what still makes the character Humpty Hump such a phenomenon. So, Ken, I kind of want to start with you. And before we get started, I don't know if you want to say anything or say anything to the people that have been showing you, the world has been showing us love for these past few weeks. So I don't know if you want to say anything about that first and foremost.
Sure. I got to send deep shout out to everybody. Just the love that I've gotten from the Tampa people, the New York people, and of course the California people. Much love and thank you. And any stories, like I said before, any stories are no story is too short or too long. Y'all can hit me through Armand's show, whether it's, I'm not big on Facebook, but I will get back to folks. I will get back to each and everybody that reaches out, just so everybody knows. But thank you. It's been an honor and incredible to be a part of all of it and everything.
All right. So Kent, talk about the origins, because I remember recording the album. We had done the Do What You Like video. Had he mentioned the Humpty Hump character before we did the Do What You Like video?
We were talking about it, and it was a mixture of, first, our grandfather kind of looked like Humpty. His nose wasn't as big. He kind of looks like me a lot. But it was a handful of characters. When it came out, he was like, yo, check this out. Like, I got this dude in there. A lot of it was P-Funk related too. The characters in P-Funk, Sir Nose, all the characters, Kid Funkadelic and blah, blah, blah. So the concept of other characters in the group really came from P-Funk. But Humpty was part grandpa
Wow.
They used to call him Big Eddie. They used to call him Big Eddie.
Wow.
This dude named Slimio, who at school in Tampa, he had these 400-watt speakers, and he used to talk real loud. You know that high booty brother,
Right.
that you know. But he always used to talk about his sound system, and he was kind of loud. Who else? There was another cat who might have been, his name might have been Ricardo, but he was kind of loud too. And it was one of our cousins, or maybe our uncle, a relation to our stepmom. He might have been just a good friend of Sonia's, but his name was, he was Tony, and he was really light skinned, so they called him Tony Red. And he used to talk about, my dad had an old Cutlass. He said, he was like, Eddie, he was helping my pops fix it. We're gonna get this Cutlass running, Eddie. And he was kind of loud, you know? So the voices and the characters and that kind of, you know, gregarious, kind of loud, and, you know, we all know them kind of people. Like Hammer was like that too. You know, whenever you talk to you, it's like, yo, you're trying to make that good money. Yo, don't want that good money. He was talking about, you know, going out and touring and stuff, but Humpty is accumulation of that type of brother, that people that we know. And the Groucho part too, we were total Groucho fans for the comedy and being in New York. The Groucho Marx show used to come on, of course, in New York. And the funny thing though, is we had to paint, we would get brown nail polish and paint the noses because they never made any brown skin ones. But yeah, Humpty was a combination of a few people that all just kind of came together.
Yeah, I learned it because I always knew that your dad was Eddie, but I didn't know your grandfather was Big Eddie. So I knew the Eddie and the Edward, and he used to talk about his dad, and like, you know, your dad, you know, he said, Gregory, you're gonna do this and do that, right? So I knew
Edward
that.
Ellington III. That's the third Eddie.
Yeah,
The
okay, that's it.
third.
So you put it
That's
all
right.
together, right?
It's Eddie Sr., then it's our pops is Eddie Jr. They used to call him, our grandmother used to call him Big Eddie. Our dad was Little Eddie. And you're right, Humpty was the third Eddie.
Yeah, that's it. Makes sense, right?
So he just put it together. Sure.
That's dope. Now,
Yeah.
So now we have this character, and you know, we don't know that, and when we did Do What You Like video, he was recognized, right? But even in the Do What You Like video, he didn't have a name. He was just this character. But then circumstances have it where we don't get a song clear. We have to do these new songs, and we end up doing the Humpty dance, right?
Mm.
So we have this song, and this song is great, but we don't have the dance. So now, right before the video, we have to shoot the dance. So, you know, I'll always say I was in the house, me, Shock, Cullen, and Mac Moan. But Cullen, you and Moan kind of helped Shock come up with the dance. And as you said, I tell the story wrong. So why don't you please tell them the truth about how that dance came to be?
He didn't come up with the dance. We're on Second Ave at Deantra's house. As the earthquake was happening, I was about to run out the house, and I'm looking at Moan, and I was like, and we were practicing for the dance as the earthquake was happening. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, he's moving like this. And I was like, that's it. But we thought you guys was dead in goddamn San Francisco because y'all wasn't even in the World Series happening.
Yeah.
So when we all finally got back together, I was like, this is how the dance is gonna go. And I was like, okay, this is it. And Shock was like, okay, we rocking with this. That's exactly how it happened.
So how much of it did Moan influence? Because from what I understand, you and Moan kind of helped put it together.
Moan was in the door of Deantra's doorway, and I was trying to run out the house. And I was looking at him, and I'm just looking at him like, that's the dance. That's exactly how it went. It's nothing more than nothing less than that.
Talk about God work.
Right.
God
and so
just
let me share it with them, because we were trying to figure out what to do with the video, but we were actually me, Fuse, Shot, Pee Wee, we were rehearsing in San Francisco to get ready to go to Europe, and the earthquake hit. The bridge got knocked down. There was no power in the city, and we couldn't communicate. So like he said, they didn't know if we were dead or not. We were just like wandering around in San Francisco, not knowing how we were going to get back across to the East Bay, which was crazy. So that makes sense, because I do remember it now, because I just remember being in Mom's apartment when you guys were practicing it. So the dance was already made by the time that y'all was showing Shot and y'all was doing it together, right?
Yeah, we actually thought you guys was dead.
I know.
So
That's crazy.
But so when well, I guess we'll get to this, but we did the editing for the video. Me and Moan, you guys went to Europe, but we'll get to that.
Word.
What's happening? This is E40. I want to send my condolences to my man Shock G, man, Humpty Hump. You understand me? An innovator, a motivator, trendsetter, way ahead of his time. Gone but not forgotten. Love you, brother. Your area.
Like I have 8 by 10 pictures of Webby as Humpty Hump, Paul as Humpty Hump. There was another Randy. I don't know if you remember him. Randy would come with us and be Shock G because he was light skinned and tall. He was a little thicker, but he would pass for Shock G because all he would have to do was put on the leather coat and the zebra hat and the shades, and we called him Shock G, while Shock could be Humpty Hump. So, no, I know what it was, but talk about, did Shock give you any guidelines of how you had to be when you played Humpty?
I worked on the voice, but the voice was easy. You know, it was natural, I should say. You know, just to be like Humpty and be crazy and, you know, and just kind of be aloof and into people. You know, if I saw somebody wearing something that was fly, be like, what's up, yo, where'd you get that coat from? You know, it was like, it was just be into the moment, really.
Right.
Yeah, just kind of be there and connect, you know.
Word. So Chris, I want to bring you in, and let me just start from the beginning, meaning that Shock G actually introduced us per se. He suggested that we work together. And if you want to tell the story, I'll let you tell the story. But I just wanted to ask you, were there any, did he give you any secret sauce? And even though you play Young Hump, which is a totally different character, right?
But initially I was playing Humpty until we had that show conflict where he had a show and we had a show. And then at that point, it had to split and do a new creation. Because initially, the first probably, 7, 8, 9 shows, maybe 10, something like that. Somewhere, something like that. I was Humpty, Bill was Humpty, but then once,
And I apologize. Let me stop you, but explain, because people don't understand. You did play Humpty, but what was Shock's vision? Because he wanted to be able to, he was always looking for a Humpty so that he could remain Shock G. So how did he explain that to you?
Yeah, I mean, first he was like, man, you should rock with Mun and y'all should do some shit, just go on and do some shit. But then later it became like what you said, like he was like, yeah, we all coming back together, 2020, we're gonna have a reunion and we're gonna do this and I can play the keys and you can be, and it's funny because we actually did one show together where basically he had the show, and then his grandmother passed. You know, condolences again to the family. So when your grandmother passed, he didn't know if he was going to be able to make the show. So he hit me and was like, you know, I don't think I'm gonna make the show. Can you fill in for me? But then at the last minute, the way the service was scheduled, he was able to make it. So he was like, well, look, I told you to come, just come anyways, and we'll rock together. So then I show up, and he didn't even have the nose with him. So I come out there with the full fit on. He takes my nose and hat and has me come on stage. So I'm on stage with the full coat on, the shit I wore in the movie, but I don't have the nose of the hat. So I look crazy on stage, and it was like, I was like, yo, some legendary shit. It was the funniest thing. But yeah, that was his thing. And he told me once that there were, like, the people you mentioned in total, it was 6 people, and I was like the 7th dude to be Humpty, and which is kind of crazy because low key it's like the electric 7. There was 7 people in totality, so you gotta love it, right? So
right.
funny.
So, dude, can we recall who the 7 was? I remember. Okay, so it's Ken, it's you. Chris, it's you. I know Webby did it. Paul did it.
That's 4.
Randy did it. So
5.
it's 2 more. Now,
Num did it once. I think Num, or was it Clee? Was Num or Clee? One of them.
well, Clee could do the voice, but he was too chunky to be the.
Well,
There was one.
guy.
There was one dude though, I gotta say, who did a photo shoot. Greg called me, I forget his name, and he did one photo shoot. I can't remember who it is though. He might have been related to Melissa.
So
Wait,
yeah,
Kent,
because
when-
not every.
when was
Yeah,
it?
go ahead, Cullen.
No, Kent, when was it? I think I might be able to recall
I have
this.
to think about it, but I remember he called me to do a photo shoot, and for some reason I couldn't do it. And it was a dude who never did it before. He wasn't rapping or anything. It was a photo shoot. Oh. I think it was the cover for BAM magazine or something like that. It might have been a BAM cover.
It's a black and white cover. I know what you're talking about.
That
I
wasn't
know the
Randy?
cover.
No,
That was Randy.
wasn't Paul or none of them. It was some other dude, and I think it was a friend or a cousin of Melissa's.
Okay, so I do remember. Now I don't know if this is true, but this is what I remember. So, Cullen or Kent, you can correct me. But I remember at one time there was a dude in Oakland that was impersonating Humpty, but he was like, something he was doing was foul. He was like going, I don't know if he was trying to collect money or he was just moving through. I think he actually stole some Humpty gear out of one of Shock's cars or something. Do you remember something like that?
I haven't heard anything like that. The only thing I heard.
So the end of that story is that the dude who was impersonating him, somehow he found the guy, and I don't know if he told him because people thought it was him so much that he kind of like hollered at him to like, yo, I might want you to come do it. You feel me? Because he was always in search. He was like Shock G was in search of Humpty
legendary.
Hump in the entire career.
Hey, here a hump, there a hump, everywhere a Humpty Hump.
Right.
You feel
But
me?
Joe, but man, I did hear, and you might remember this, of a case of someone who impersonated Digital Underground and went to a Janet Jackson show at the Coliseum and started something, and they thought it was, I think they thought it was the real Digital Underground. That could have been one of the Humpty impersonators, because I can't imagine them trying to get in without a Humpty character as Digital Underground.
So it was a whole group? It was a group of dudes?
I heard it was 3 dudes, but one of them was Humpty, and that's how they let him in. And one other quick story, you probably remember this. There was somebody in the Midwest during the tour who came in and their laminates were doper than ours. And I remember snagging those. I remember somehow somebody snagged them, but there was a dude somewhere out Midwest came in and got backstage with a laminate and a nose, but someone snatched his laminates and that was it.
You know what I'm saying? One thing that I could say about Shock G, he was always happy. And not only that, but he always wanted everybody to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but his music was happy music. You know what I'm saying? I remember the time when Shock G came out to my mother's house in Roosevelt, Long Island. Oh boy, my mother fell in love with Shock G, man. He even gave her a nose. We all went out to eat that night and everything with the whole family. Oh man, we had such a great time in Roosevelt.
Cullen,
Uh-huh.
you know, when we we did the video, right? We did the Humpty, we did the Do What You Like video, we did the Humpty Dance video. It started popping. Now, remember, we left to go on tour. I came back, went to work. Tell me the moment that you knew that this Humpty thing was a real thing. Like, where were you? Or just give me a moment, and then also give me your favorite moment with Humpty Hump, not with Shock G, but with Humpty Hump.
It's not a moment. When you guys left to go to Europe, me and Moan, we had to take the BART and get on the bikes and go to Townsend to go edit the video.
Right.
And you guys, and Shock just gave us, he was like, do this. I mean, we want this point and this point and this point and this point. So if you watch the video, it's all of our friends. And
Right.
all of our
It's Moan's cousins.
We did that. we just it was what Shock wanted, and then we just put everything else of us.
Yeah, John and all that. Well,
Yeah.
and then let me give a little backstory to that as well. So the same company that did Humpty Dance, they did Do What You Like, but and I forget if it was the woman or the man, because it was owned by two people, but one of them had a drug problem, right? And they wouldn't show up. They weren't working. So on the Do What You Like video, and because we didn't have anybody to show us what was right and what was wrong, we ended up editing that video ourselves. Like, we showed up at everything and put the cuts in. So I understand, like, if Shock was like, we thought we had to be at every video to do it. So I could see if Shock saying, I'm not gonna be there, you guys go, and these are the parts we like. Because I remember trying to be there as well.
No, Shock just drew up the numbers of this part of the video. Do this, do this, do this, do this. I want this, but we just filled everything else in. And
that makes sense, because I see
open as fuck.
Tamika in there, John Pettis is in there.
I said we're gonna make this Oakland as fuck.
That's dope.
Nah, that's dope.
But when we used to go to it was like 2 or 3 days doing the video, editing the video. Me and Moan, it was a Huffy bike because the bridge was down. So we get on the BART, and I'd ride on the handlebars. And we just went to Townsend Street and we did that shit. And then when it came out, I was like, okay, we know what we was doing.
Hey, what's funny is that you mentioned it because we shot the video and then we had to leave to Europe. That's right. So y'all
didn't know what we did.
No, we didn't. We just came back to the video.
That's hilarious. Oh my God. That is hilarious.
Nah, that's dope.
I don't think anybody knew that y'all just put it in our hands and y'all went to Europe.
Wow.
That makes perfect sense.
It was hot. It was hot.
Amazing.
Chris, you want to say something about that?
Just that it's amazing, and it's just the legends, the legendariness of it. It just keeps expanding. Every single detail of everything is as legendary as possible.
But it makes sense, right? Because we shot the video. I want to say we shot it on like October. Because what day was the video? What day was the earthquake? Because we shot the video like 2 or 3 days after the earthquake.
It was during the World Series, I remember.
It was October, whatever. Yeah. And I remember our last show at the Townsend, which I have, was that show might have been the 20th.
October.
It was in October, of course, but we left like the next day. So we weren't there to edit the video, so that makes sense. But it is now that you go back and look, I see all of Moan's cousins and us. You should have put us in there more. Damn it.
Well, the part where K Cloud and them was in there, we had to get that.
Yeah, that was town business. For real.
Remember K Cloud? Yeah. I still buy chocolate chip cookies from his spot over off of MLK.
Yeah, it's on Martin Luther King down the street from Children's Hospital.
Children's Hospital.
Where me and my wife, that's right here where we met.
Oh, wow,
Nice.
wow.
So I want to speak about, I'm not even going to say, we can call it the challenges, or we can say the advantages, or whatever we want to call it. But Kenton, I want you to start. Let's talk about the first time Shock asked you to play Humpty on stage. What did he tell you, and what was your job to do? And what show was that? Was it?
I know. I'm trying to think. It wasn't so much. A lot of it wasn't speaking during the big 90 tour with PE.
Right.
We would, after the show, we would go backstage and then switch gear to take pictures, because the rap magazines would come back to take pictures backstage. So the first phase of it, I wasn't speaking at all. We would just go back there and switch. Like I would grab the Humpty case from the spot that we figured it out at on stage in the venue. And then once I tucked that back in the dressing room, we would go back in there, boom, 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 switch. Or later on during the tour, there's actually a picture he gave me for my birthday a few years ago. Towards the end of the tour, I would go and put the shot gear on from the Humpty crate and then come out and sing in the background, just like the video.
Right.
And there's one of them where I come out, because after a while, he told me, he said, man, start coming out to the stage while you're singing the backgrounds, like come out. And I remember the first time I did it as Shock even, it was like everybody started pointing. So I was like, oh, we got him. I was like, we got him.
Yeah, because they didn't know what to do. They was
They
like,
had no idea. Little by little, I would come out. But I think the first speaking engagement with Humpty was a meet and grits somewhere, a meet and greet, we used to call it, somewhere, which was easy. I think it might have been something, it's probably on the road. But I remember the Arsenio Hall show was in the same gang project. And I worked on that, and some friends who knew that I was, the other Humpty thought I lip synced because I nailed it. I was proud of that. I was like, oh, cool. I was like,
wait, you nailed it on Arsenio, right?
Yeah, and that was the same gang. Yep.
Now, talk about the story. I know you said it before, but when you said, I think you said it was, somebody recognized, or when they got a clue.
Oh, yeah.
What's the way to read the story? I'm sorry,
yeah. It's a good story. The Arsenio Hall show, you guys had already done that with the Humpty dance.
Right.
And that was him and by himself. But when we came back in the same gang project, he, in the limo, like on the way over, he was telling me people that he had met before. So that would be like, hey, Susan, how you doing? Hey, how's your cat doing or whatever, trying to, and he was literally on my shoulder, whispering in my ear. And then I remember walking up to all the artists. I mean, it was like a high school prom or something, a talent show or something. All of the big, top West Coast rappers were there at the time. And all I remember is going down the line. It was like, what up, yo? Hey, how you doing? Good to see you again, Jeff, whatever. Easy, what up? And I remember going over to Ice-T, and Ice-T was like, he just froze. He had this crazy look on his face. And for a minute, I didn't know what he was doing. Like, I didn't get it. for a minute. And then I was like, oh, he doesn't know. I was like, what up, P? I just kind of went up to him. I was like, you good? You good? And he was like, oh, shit. He was like, he didn't say a word. He didn't say a word. And then later on, me and Greg talked about it. And I was like, did you see him? He was like, oh my God, we were laughing that he had no clue. And then Ice-T kind of sparked some other people. Who else? There was someone else there that kind of was like, I thought it was just him too. Like, it's really two of them. And man, me and Shock laughed at that. We were cracking up, but it was a lot of fun. And I remember kind of dicing through some conversations, that Shock had as Humpty before with some of these people. But it was just a lot of fun seeing the look on their faces, man.
Yo, I wanted to say something real quick. Man, I was watching the movie Goodfellas. And if y'all remember in the movie Goodfellas, when they're talking about that big super heist that they pulled, like that was what was the greatest heist, the Lufthansa heist, the greatest heist in American. Yo, that's what Humpty Hump is. The Humpty Hump shit is the Lufthansa heist of hip hop, like the fucking illest fucking shit that was pulled over on motherfuckers ever. So it's amazing. There's nothing close to it. Just had to jump in. I wanted to say that in my little speech I prepared for the other day, but anyway.
Nah, it's good, but Ken, I want you to speak to how it was never over after the show, because we had to be backstage and still keep that same facade going. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah,
that was probably the more challenging thing. I know you just said how you had to speak to people, but you had to be
before Ken answers. Do you remember we were in New York and KRS-One was looking like it was a new music seminar when Tresh battled whoever, but they were trying to figure out, like, are they two people or one? And he's just looking. I'm like, ha ha, we fooled everybody.
But you could tell just by the look on their faces. Whoever we met, whoever we stepped to, they would get this frozen, like, they'd be like,
because they assumed that it was one person, like they knew, but then when they seen us and it was two motherfuckers, they be like, what?
Yeah.
But the thing is, we all kept it all together. We never said nothing about nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. If you figured it out, you would still never know.
Yeah. And I remember the Arsenio Hall show, at the end of it, everyone's out on stage. Arsenio asked me to wear the coat with the two, remember the big white fake fur coat with the two diamond H's on the back.
Right.
And Arsenio was like, can I wear the coat? I was like, nah, man. I said, nah.
You ain't touching my coat.
I was like, no,
you
can't do that. I was like, you can't do that, man. But yeah, man, it was just, but the fun thing I gotta say, and Chris can chime in on this, we would laugh like, it was cool to take Humpty off and put him in a way, because it's like, how you gonna be Humpty 24/7? How you gonna be Humpty over here, just going through a grocery store or something,
Yeah, and I kind of wanted you two guys to kind of talk about that, because only you guys know what that experience is like. So share with us, please.
Well, you go first, Chris. I'll come in after you. You go first.
I got one that I've been waiting to hear you. I've been waiting to say to you that I know you know about, that no one else ever could imagine, is when you on stage in the middle of a show and you smiling and you're doing the thing, and people don't realize, because you've been on stage sweating, that in the tip of your nose is a puddle of sweat, and you moving around and you got this little sweat puddle under your nose and it tickle, and all you want to do is take that nose off and scratch your shit and be free, but the show must go on. And as soon as you get off stage, you take that shit off and the water drip and you're like, shit is nuts, right?
Yeah. I got a great story. We did a thing in Oakland. It was kind of like a charity. And it was the first time I remember I did something kind of public where people are close. I was signing autographs, and I swear to God, this woman came up with her daughter. And me and Shock had to laugh at this. She came up with her daughter and said, "Oh, Humpty," she was a big fan. She was, she wasn't too old. She wasn't too young. She had a daughter with her, and she asked me to sign her breast. And for a minute, I paused. I was like, but then I had to get back into character. I was like, oh, yeah, all right. I was like, okay. With her daughter right there.
With her daughter right there. That part, I forgot that. With her daughter.
It was just regular business. It was like, yeah, it was, oh, man. But here's another quick story. We would go down to LA maybe, I don't know, once a week when Yo MTV Raps was hot. And I remember we did a Yo MTV show on one of the Western sets down there. And I think it was some of the hottest West Coast rappers at the time, maybe, who was down there at the time? It might've been Cube, might've been, it wasn't Ice-T though. I remember it wasn't him because he probably would have reacted, but they had tours going on while we were down there on the Western sets, because it was Universal Studios or something. And we were doing drops, like we would bust through the door. This is Humpty Hump with Digital Underground. We coming up in here to drink or something, like some kind of Western motif, when you come in. But while the tours were going by, and the tours are all like Midwestern, pale people, all going older with their little cameras. They're taking a picture of everything. And when the procession, they have those little box cars went by, all of them were like, "Oh, look." They're like, "There's Humpty Hump. Yo, Humpty. They'd all wave. Can we get a picture?" They didn't say anything to anyone else standing there. And me and my brother, we in shock. We were like, oh shit, because you don't know, you just don't know the impact of who it gets through to. And we were laughing at that, man. It was crazy. It was surprising and beautiful to see how many different people it all reached and touched. I mean, it was incredible.